I don't know if you've ever been here in your career, but I've actually been there where I didn't sell it because I was too scared to ask. But if I have that tool in front of me, it keeps me on purpose. And it forces me to ask because I hand them the tool as we're going through our cross-selling presentation, and it talks about the 4 gaps: the MedSup in our case, in our area, the prescription drug plan, the DVH, dental vision hearing, and the cancer plan. So guess what's going to happen if I don't mention one of those? They're going to look at the tool.
Why didn't you mention that?
Yeah, why didn't you mention that?
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the Medicare Sales Playbook. I hope you're having an amazing week, and we just want to be just a little more amazing in that amazing week. And so we want to bring some value to you today. Yeah. We appreciate you tuning in. Time's the most valuable thing you have, and the fact you're giving some of it to us really means a lot to me. So I want to pour into you and let you walk away today saying, man, I got something out of today. I am joined today by one of the first men that I contacted when I knew we were going to have a podcast, because I knew that he would bring value. He's one of these guys, every time he walks into the room, I'm like, man, I'm that guy. I'm glad that guy's here. And that is Mr. Rob Sevilla, man. Welcome to the show, buddy.
Well, thanks for having me, man. I'm honored to be here today.
Absolutely appreciate you. A lot of you guys may know Rob as the Medicare Minister.
Yep.
Right?
That's right. That's
and if you don't, you should.
Yep. That's right.
Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about who you are, what you're doing. How'd you get into insurance?
Yeah, absolutely. Rob Sevilla from Tupelo, Mississippi, not originally from Southern California. That's a podcast story for another day, but moved to North Mississippi in 91. And my wife of almost 27 years, Gina, and I are up here this weekend in Springfield, and we have 3 kids. And I got in the insurance business about 11 years ago, and I started in the financial advising space, went into the FE space, and probably about 5 years ago, I found my jam in the Medicare space.
Yeah, why Medicare?
To be honest, because we're former pastors and church planners, and we're just used to serving people at such a high level. We loved serving that space. And we say that we were in ministry for 20 plus years, but now Medicare is our ministry.
And, I am fine as I meet more and more people. I just did an interview with Ray Hunter. I said, man, what's your background? He said, the Bible.
Right.
He said, I talk to people about the Bible. There's so many people that end up in Medicare.
Right.
Why do you think that correlates?
I think it's because you truly get to help people at the highest level. And it's nothing against any other verticals. I've been in all the verticals, but Medicare just allows you to really serve those people. I mean, they're really dependent on you to get this thing right. And I think people in ministry are used to serving at that high of a level, and it's just a peanut butter and jelly match, if you will.
Well, and what's funny too is I'm sitting here looking through the glass at Mike Hall.
Yeah.
All of us grow up. I grew up. I wanted to be a cop. Right. Didn't work out.
Right.
And all that. Me and a weapon. They're like, no, that's not. That's just
right.
not. Yeah. That's just not a good idea.
Not a good idea.
But I grew up wanting to be a police officer. I've talked to people. Nobody ever.
Yeah.
I've never been invited to a career day, right, as an insurance agent.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody that's ever grown up, maybe Matt Evans, but he has a degree in insurance. But I've never known anybody growing up saying, hey, I want to be an insurance agent.
Right.
But I do see, man, just a trend of people that want to go into a helping industry.
Yeah.
They end up in insurance. And I don't think that's by accident.
Well, one of the reasons I like it, Dallas, is, we're going to talk a little bit about cross-selling today. And I preach ROR versus ROI. And what I mean by that is in our vertical, in our space, I preach return on relationship. The vertical that we're in with Medicare allows us that if we're willing to invest in that relational equity, the ROI is incredible. But a lot of times in our industry, it's sexy to talk about ROI. It's sexy to talk about apps, and we get very transactional with it, and we don't realize that it's really, I like what our friend Hindu says, we're in the people business. Well, if that's the case, then we need to be heavy in the relationship part of it.
Man, I've been reading a lot of books on the meanings of life, right? I went down that rabbit hole recently. And you know what I'm finding? That R word that you just mentioned, all of them end up there.
Yep.
It's not about the money you make. It's not about the house you buy. It's not about the cars you drive. It's not even about how successful you are in business. It's about at the end of your life looking around and saying the relationships are the things that mattered. I love that we can build relationships with people, and these are the things. Now I want to take that into what you talked about today.
Right.
cross-selling,
Right.
because I believe cross-selling is building a full relationship in sales.
Exactly.
Versus a one product, hey, I'm Rob, sign
Right.
here, get out.
Right.
So talk to me about you cross-sell on purpose.
That's right.
So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, my terminology is actually bundling on purpose. But I think a lot of times what we miss, if you'll give me 3 to 4 minutes here, is that, to give you some context and some foundation, is that a lot of times we promote the sexy so much in our industry, and people want the sexy and they want the apps and they want that ROI and they want the income, but they don't want to do the consistent things to get there. And so for me, if you're truly going to be effective in cross-selling, you got to do the consistent things that our friend Mike Hall does. Mike Hall's at the OG, man. When I grew up, I want to be Mike Hall, right?
Yeah.
But to get to where he's at and successful people like him, are we willing to do those things consistently? I put those reps in so we can get to the sexy part of our business, if you will. Number one. Number two is cross-selling for me, Dallas. It doesn't always happen right away. I think that's a misconception that we have in this business. If I can share a quick story, I have some clients that I started with 5 years ago. Husband going on disability Medicare. So we put him on a Medicare Advantage plan, a HIP plan with a cancer benefit. His wife needed short-term medical. That was the best fit for her. We also gave her a DVH and a HIP plan. She goes later on down the road onto Medicare. So we put her on a supplement. We keep the DVH and we put her on a drug plan. A couple of years later, he goes on Medicare. We put him on a Medicare supplement in a drug plan. And so here we are, just recently, this past year and a half, we've done about $1 million in annuities. So one of the things that I like to tell people is that a lot of times we want this instant gratification cross-selling, but on purpose is more than just going, okay, I need it now. On purpose is being consistent, nurturing that relationship. There's that ROR again, right? I'm nurturing that relationship. I'm consistently bringing it up. I'm consistently asking. And so if you look over the past 5 years, look at all those apps that came because we kept asking at the right time, and those apps addressed a need they legitimately had.
Well, and I think too, if we keep, we didn't even in our pre-warm-up here, we didn't talk about relationship, but it keeps coming back. Yeah. I don't think that's an accident. We don't expect that from our other relationships.
Right.
Right? Like I didn't ask my wife to marry me the first day I met her.
Right.
Right? I know what the answer would have been.
Right.
So, but we take time to develop those relationships, and we take time to build and all that stuff. But then in sales, we want, hey, sign here. Let's go. I need 5 apps today.
Yeah,
it's a time thing. It's
a building thing. And that's what I'm saying. I'm using the word sexy on purpose here, but it's if we're not careful, we promote transactional, and we're raising up a generation of agents that don't know what it means to build the relationship part of it. And if they would get their PhD in a relationship, the ROI would be incredible.
But that relationship takes work, man.
It does. It does.
And I think that's why a lot of people don't want it. They want the quick.
And that's what I love about our clients. Like the other day, we had some of these clients I'm talking about. They came by our office to sign a document because we delivered an annuity to them. And they said, this is the beautiful part about building a relationship with your clients, the ROR part, is they said, we want to take you and Gina out to lunch. They're always trying to take us out to lunch. And I'm going, you guys are the ones that have been clients of ours for years. Yeah. We need to be taking you out to lunch. But that's the beauty of the relationship side, is that we have clients that call and tell us they love us. And they come by and see us at the office just to see us.
Well, and what's funny is if you look at it from that standpoint, most people would expect, if they come into your office and it's lunchtime, they're expecting you to take them to lunch. Right? Because they know you have received money or value from them.
Right.
These people want you to recognize we have received value from you.
Yeah.
And we feel like on the scales there, we owe you. That doesn't happen a lot.
Right.
So it's establishing that value and showing them there. So let's get in more into cross-selling, bundling on purpose.
Yeah.
Right. So talk me through, we're in a Medicare appointment.
Sure.
One thing I see a lot of agents do is they sell the main product.
Yep.
Then they try to add on the stuff behind it. Mm-hmm. But the client has already got, you tell them, okay, look, here's a Medicare Advantage plan. It's $0 premium. Mm-hmm. Okay, 0. Now, what number does that agent or that client have in their mind?
0.
0.
Yeah.
Now, The dental's $32 extra.
Right.
And this is, no, I don't want that. I want the zero. So how are you going by, and I know you're a lot of med subs in your area,
Sure.
Mississippi, but
Heavy
how
med
are
sub.
you establishing it from the beginning?
Yeah, and let me give a nugget to those that are really wanting to get into cross-selling. Is I look at it this way. If I'm sitting with a T65, turning 65, right, and new to Medicare, if they're coming off of group coverage, they've been indoctrinated for years to buy multiple products.
Yep.
Yes or yes,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And so why change the tradition?
Yeah.
And so I use a tool. I have a sheet that I use. So when I'm sitting down with someone, I have a tool, and that tool allows me to stay on track, A, but B, it forces me to ask. Because I believe that's the biggest barrier a lot of agents that they can't break through. They just don't ask.
Well, hold on. You've been doing this for how long?
I've been doing it about 5 years.
And you're still using a tool to
I'm
keep
still
you
using
on
a
track.
tool. Yeah.
That's on purpose too.
Yeah, it's on purpose. And the reason is because, I mean, any successful person will tell you, like think of the Gabe Tilvars and the Kenershes and the bigwigs out there, that they will tell you that we all face fear and doubts. There's meetings I still go into and go, oh, I don't know if they need a cancer plan. I don't know if they need a hospital indemnity plan. But if I have that tool in front of me, it keeps me on purpose. And it forces me to ask because I hand them the tool as we're going through our cross-selling presentation, and it talks about the 4 gaps: the MedSup in our case, in our area, the prescription drug plan, the DVH, dental vision hearing, and the cancer plan. So guess what's going to happen if I don't mention one of those? They're going to look at the tool.
Why
and go,
didn't you mention that?
Yeah, why didn't you mention that? And here's the other thing. I don't know if you've ever been here in your career, but I've actually been there where I didn't sell it because I was too scared to ask. And then somebody later on down the road saying, hey, did I get that cancer benefit? And I go, and I think, I forgot to bring it up. And they go, I just got diagnosed.
Yeah. So where does that fear stem from?
I think the fear stems from, from my opinion, is I believe a lot of advisors think they're doing something to people instead of for people. It's a little mindset shift there. But and talked about being in ministry, to me, I really believe when I'm sitting down with people, I'm doing something for them. I'm serving them at the highest level. And if I don't bring it up, it could be that phone call down the road. Right. But it brings me great joy when somebody calls me down the road and goes, hey, did I happen to get that cancer policy you talked about? And I go, you absolutely did, because I wasn't afraid to ask. So I think it's a mindset thing. I think it's, hey, you got to transition from doing something to people, because I don't want to be salesy. That's what I hear that a lot, right? Yeah. To switching that mindset to, I am serving these people. I'm a servant, and to serve them at the highest level, I need to make sure they're fully protected.
Well, and 2, I think a lot of times we go in and we assess the situation.
Yeah.
We see the house, we see the car, we see the whatever, and we're like, these people cannot afford a hospital indemnity plan.
Right.
They can't afford a dental vision here. They can't afford and so we limit them. I tell agents all the time, listen, don't worry about, I hear agents bringing up objections before the client even does. Yeah. Don't worry, the objection will come. Yeah. If you're worried about it, it's going to be there.
Yeah, it's almost like they're creating evidence on behalf of the client to not get it, right? In their mind, oh, well, I'm looking at the clothes they wear, or they don't look like they have a lot of money, like you said, or their home doesn't look like much. I had these clients who unfortunately lost their mother, and their mother had left them $2 million. If we never would have talked about retirement, we never would have gotten some of that business. Wow. You have to ask, and you have to bring it up if you truly care about your clients.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so you're laying out that form there. Yep. And let's talk about some of the entry language. You don't have to go through the whole thing, but let's talk about some of the entry language, getting them going, getting them rolling. Of course, the warm-up's important and all that. Yeah. But getting them going from the beginning with the idea of you are going to purchase more than one product today.
Sure. So I always ask 2 questions when I start my Medicare presentation. Number 1 is, Mr. Jones, how much do you know about Medicare? And the reason I want to ask that is because I want to know where they're at. I'm taking the temperature. Right? And then number 2 is, I ask it kind of in a funny way, but I go, Mr. Jones, how much do you want to know about Medicare? Right. Are you the kind of person that wants to know everything about Medicare? Or are you the kind of person that just wants me to give you the ABCs, 1, 2, 3s, and you ask questions as we go along? Most people, like 95% of the people, pick option B. And here's the other reason I believe that a lot of advisors don't cross-sell very effectively. They TMI.
Yeah, they just vomit on them.
They TMI to death. And nobody likes, listen to me, nobody likes anyone that TMIs, right? Let alone your clients that you're sitting across the table or wherever at, right? So it allows me to not TMI. The tool allows me to not TMI and to stay on purpose. And I have found that when I use that tool and I don't TMI, my app ratio goes up. Because what it does is when I stay on purpose, it allows me to build that relational equity on purpose.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So he says, you know what? I just want to know, what do people want to know? The guy that says, I don't need to know everything.
Yeah.
What is important to cover for that guy?
Absolutely. So I'm definitely going to go over part A and B, right? I'm definitely going to go over parts A and B. I'm going to talk about that, right? I'm going to go about the 2 different directions. Right, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, we got the MedSup option, Medicare supplement that is, or the MAPD or Part C option. But once again, I go into it with the mindset. That's the reason I use the tool and I'm not afraid to put it out there, okay, is because they have already been indoctrinated to get these things: short-term disability, life insurance, DVH, dental vision, right, cancer. I mean, you name it. Some of these people are getting 7 products at work. So why change the tradition?
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
So you sit down, you show it all there and stuff like that. Now, I've seen your sheet. You have also the budget. Here's what it's going to cost. Right. We're laying it all out.
Right.
What happens when you get to the bottom? It's $425 a month.
Yep.
And they say, you know what? We just can't afford that.
Right.
Right. How are you approaching it? Are you now saying, okay, well, what do you want to take away, or what's the next step there?
Yeah, absolutely. What I generally do is at the very end, I total it up and I give it back to them because I want them to take that sheet home because, as you well know, Medicare is very overwhelming. Mm-hmm. So they're not going to remember probably 25% of what I told them in 24 hours. So I give that sheet for accountability. But if they say it's too much, then what I do is I start dissecting things. Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, we got to have the MedSup. Mm-hmm. We got to have the prescription drug plan. Sometimes I'll ask them, what kind of dental and vision needs do you have or do you think will arise in the future? Mm-hmm. Right. Well, if they say, well, I don't really have any needs. I'm just, I've always had it, so I want to have it. But then they go, then we talk about cancer and they go, well, I have a whole line of history of cancer in my family. To me, the cancer plan is the most important. But when I give them that sheet, here's what I do. Mr. and Mrs. Jones, it's going to be $425 to use your number or whatever it was. Okay. And then I'm just quiet. I let them look at it. They look at me, I look at them, they look at me, I look at them.
It's a little awkward, yeah.
Right, it's a little awkward.
Okay.
But once again, I know I'm doing something for them, right? And then I let them speak. And a lot of times they will say, well, I don't know if I can afford all of that. But that's sometimes a knee-jerk reaction.
Well, yeah, that's what we're trying to say, yeah.
And then sometimes I'll go, well, remind me again, how much are you paying for your group coverage for you and your husband?
Wow.
I'll say that and they'll go, oh, we're paying about $625. Mine's only $25, but because my spouse is on it, it's $600. Right. You know, and I'm exaggerating, but you get what I'm saying. So sometimes I'll offer solutions on the spouse to see if we can get them on the Affordable Care Act and save them even more money, which will help pay for the $425.
Wow.
Right?
That's a little more work.
It's a little more work. But it's part of building.
It's part of it. Yep.
It's part of building the relational equity because I can't tell you how many people go, thank you for bringing that up. I had no idea. I thought the Affordable Care Act was just for poor people. I didn't think we could qualify for it. And because I took time to dig a little bit deeper, ask a few more questions, it allowed me to now get these 4 apps or 3 apps. Plus now I'm getting an Affordable Care Act plus a hospital indemnity and maybe something else there.
Yeah, I'll never forget. I was out on an appointment one time. This guy was a big dude, welder for a living.
Right.
Great big guy. And within 10 minutes of meeting him, he had told me 3 or 4 times how much he hates his job, how much he hates his life, how much he just dreads getting up and going to work. And so I noticed, so we were there on a life insurance appointment, and I noticed that he's 66. And I'm like, sir, let me ask you something. Why are you still working? Tell me, because he kept mentioning it. He said, well, my wife's only 64, so I've got to at least work till she gets on Medicare. And I said, sir, tell me about your income. And so I put it all in, put it in the ACA and stuff like that. And I'm like, you realize she could have coverage for very little money.
Right.
They had no idea.
Yeah.
The guy starts crying immediately. He says, I'm quitting tomorrow. He says, I'm done. Right. And that was that was a life insurance appointment.
Right.
but you meet people and just have conversations with them. I love how you said a while ago, you listen to us, we may be sitting there seeing this or seeing this or seeing this. But if it's not important to them, they're sitting over here worried to death about cancer.
Yeah.
And we're like, well, you need to get that tooth fixed. But it's what they're worried about.
Yeah, and I can't speak for other verticals, but what I have found, and I'm still a rookie in the Medicare space, right? I'm still a rookie in the Medicare space, but I see a lot of Medicare advisors that are just trying to impress people with their knowledge. And they don't ever ask questions to find out where the client that you're sitting down with is at. Right. That's why I asked those two questions. I don't want to TMI and bore people with an hour presentation. I'm going to be compliant, yes, but I'm going to craft it in such a way that reaches them, right? Because if my message isn't clear, then I confuse them, and then my app count goes down.
That's beautiful. All right, I want to wrap up here in just a minute. I want to show a couple things. You named your insurance agency Agape.
Yep.
What's behind that? Tell me more about that and why.
Sure. Agape is the highest form of love, right? And it's from the Bible. And it's a kind of love that is selfless and that serves sacrificially. And that is my wife and I, Gina's, that's our DNA, right? We love our clients. We pray with our clients. We go to lunch with our clients. Our clients call us. We call them. And that is all part of building that relational equity. Because you know this, our industry is so transactional. And I'm not throwing shade or hating on anybody. I'm just telling you, if you would get your PhD in being relational, right? The transactions would be there.
Yeah, that's a means to an end. Yeah.
And so Agape for us is, how can we serve you at the highest level? Yeah. Right? And even if it costs us something, because there are certain plans that don't pay us anything. But if that's the best for the client, that's what we're going to do. I had a client call me yesterday that was referred to me on a Medicare supplement, paying about $158 a month. And they had some challenges, but we could have possibly saved them about $10 or $12 a month. But I go, that's really not what's best for the client right now. Right. And I just told him the truth. And he said, thank you so much for telling me the truth, because I don't know who to trust. My agent died 3 years ago. And here's the mud dealing part. I said, by the way, what else do you have? Like, what prescription drug plan do you have? Well, long story short, I set up an appointment for open enrollment. And he said, thank you so much, because I didn't know who to trust and who to talk to. And he was referred by someone who he goes to church with. So by being honest and serving him, even though I didn't get anything out of it initially, there's that instant gratification again, that bundling isn't always going to be instant. But if you build the relationship over time, you're going to get that cancer plan. You're going to get that annuity. You're going to get that other retirement. You're going to get that life insurance.
Yeah, that transactional agent just heard, I got to review a PDP.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's even if I sell it, that's $6.
When I first started in this business, nobody wanted to do PDPs at the office I was at. They hated doing them. I was like, sign me up, coach. Yeah. But what happened is it got me in front of more people. It got me more reps. And that's another key to cross-selling is you have people trying to cross-sell, but they're not spending their evenings or their weekends or their lunchtime learning the plays. Yeah. Right. If I could use a sports terminology, and I'm not saying you have to know everything. That's not what I'm saying. But I know in a presentation, if somebody says this, I know I can go this way. If they say this, I know I can go that way. But I took the time at night watching videos of way more successful people than me, listening to podcasts, getting in the rooms with like the Mike Halls and the Gabe Tovars and some of these others, listening to what they're saying and going, okay, I'm going back and putting that in my playbook. And because I know my craft, it allows me, and I'm using that tool and I don't TMI, it allows me to be consistently clear, which on the back end blesses my family and I, because we're willing to serve at such a high level on the front end.
How many referrals are you getting?
We get probably about 10 to 12 referrals a month in our business right now. That's just like, we don't call nobody. That's them calling us going, hey, ACA, retirement, Medicare.
Some of y'all could replace your income on 10 to 12 referrals a month. Yeah. Like that's big.
Yeah.
That's
and
awesome.
It's people always saying, hey, you can trust Rob and Gina. They'll take care of you. They're going to be honest with you, right? Mm-hmm. And in Mississippi, there's an old saying, and I'm not from Mississippi. I'm from Southern California, but I've adopted words like fixing and things like that. I'm fixing everything, and all my friends are out west going, what are you fixing today, right? but I'll say, hey, if I can't help you, I'm not going to hurt you. That's part of that agape love, that I'm going to serve you even if it hurts us because we want what's best for you.
Well, and one thing that I think a lot of agents can learn from this one today is whenever you sit down in front of a client, like a lot of us, we sit down, we're like, okay, this is a Medicare client. It's not that. Now, I want to take care of their primary need. But it is a person that I have an opportunity to show them everything I do and help them in multiple ways. And just make sure that they're taken care of.
And we have tons of people that come in our office, Dallas, like some of those referrals. I'm not including referrals that we can't even help. We get people that get messed over all the time in our industry. They're put on the wrong plans or this happens. And I don't think some of it's maliciously. I think some of it is just ignorance. Maybe that advisor didn't know what they didn't know. But it makes us feel good when people go to Rob and Gina. You can trust them. They're going to take care of you. And we just tell people the truth.
Yeah. So I'm going to do the Baptist thing. I said a while ago I wanted to wrap up, but I'm going to wrap up again. You know what a Baptist preacher, you know what it means when a Baptist preacher says, and finally, means absolutely nothing.
Three closes later.
Let's close. I don't want people to miss this, how cool it is. So you started out church ministry.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
I know your story.
Yeah.
And if people get a chance to sit down with you and hear your story, they should. You guys had to start over. We won't get into why.
Right. Yeah.
Had a successful business. Very successful. Got your legs cut out from I'm trying to use my words very carefully. Got your legs cut out from under you. Had to start over again. You now still look at your ministry as a blessing and as a ministry. So how cool is that full circle? You know, I believe you will be pastoring again someday. If you don't, I'm probably going to talk to somebody. But you're still, a lot of people may look at you and say, man, life is just like, I believe I'm supposed to be a pastor. I got my legs cut out. You're looking at it and say, our ministry is what we're doing right now. We're not looking forward to what we're going to do. It's where we are. We're helping the people we're supposed to help right now. And
let me say this is probably a word for someone today. We could have been stuck in the blaming phase. Which would have led us to the victim phase, right? But I'm going to tell you something. Blaming always blocks your breakthrough. Always. And we never would have had the breakthrough that we have today. As a matter of fact, it was a choice to forgive. We're not mad. We actually pray for those other people because we want them to be blessed. Right. And that's the only way you can ever break through.
That's just weird, Rob.
No, I'm being for real. You can ask my wife if she was, she's right us in the door. I'm just telling you because here's the thing. Here's the thing. We don't want anything to hold us back in our business. And if you get stuck in that blaming phase, then you turn into a victim. And there's no way you're ever going to be able to break through and have the victory that I believe that God wants for you.
Boy, I didn't say this. I've read it somewhere, but bitterness is taking the poison and hoping it affects somebody else.
And so here's the thing. We don't hold anything against anybody. We look at it as that adversity. I talked about this at the main event, that adversity is part of everyone's assignment. Right? It's just part of it. It's part of everyone's journey. And we have a choice to either take it and allow it to develop us, or we can allow it to destroy us. It's our choice. That's incredible, man. Guys, this is a guy you need to get to know. Agape Insurance. Rob, how can they get a hold of you guys? Easiest way is you can go on Facebook and look at Rob and Gina Sevilla. We also have an Agape YouTube channel. I do a little inspirational thing on YouTube called Spitting Fire. Would love to have you as a subscriber there as well. Medicare Minister, Spitting Fire. You guys go look him up. He's got a lot of stuff going on. We'll put all that here. I say we. Adam's the one doing all this. I just take the credit. He's the real deal. Absolutely. So, guys, thank you for tuning in. Rob, thank you very much. Appreciate all you do. And guys, thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you coming on. And I've said it probably 10 times in the last 10 episodes. Success comes when you find people that are doing what you want to do. They're where you want to be, and you follow them there. That's right. Rob's one of those guys. So if you look him up, follow Rob. He's a great mentor to have, somebody that in my life, has spoken a lot of good into me, and I really appreciate that. We appreciate you subscribing, liking, doing all the things that all the cool kids do. Appreciate Adam in the other room making us look good. Mike calls it. We've got to get Mike Hall on the podcast too. Like he's been brought up like 5 or 6 times. We got to get him in that seat. But got to get Mike there. But we will have him on very soon. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Have a great week, and we'll see you next week on the Medicare Sales Playbook.